it so they can see the phone number or the meeting number. There you go.
Okay, I'd like to call to order the Southbury Board of Selectmen regular meeting, June 4th, 2020, to order at 7 p.m. And if we could have the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United
States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation,
under God,
under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Next up is public comment, limited to 2 minutes. If you could state your name and where you're from. We have public comment.
Okay, we have Kathy DeCarly on the phone. Go ahead, Kathy.
This is Kathy DeCarly from Flag Swamp Road. I would like the Board of Selectmen to consider shelving the purchase of the Edgewood facility, not because of the price or the quality of the facility, but because it is foolish to go ahead with a pool project, either pool project, during a time of unprecedented economic uncertainty. The reality is that Southbury may not be able to collect all the revenue needed to run the town due to the loss of businesses and the loss of employment by its citizens. I believe it would be prudent to wait. I'd like to think the worst of the virus is behind us, but I can't. History should remind us that the last pandemic came in 3 waves. Until there is a vaccine or a cure, why would we ignore history's warning? Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. Any other public
Thanks, Kevin.
comment?
No, that's it.
Hearing none, we'll move on to announcements and correspondence. Everybody has it in their packet. I do want to point out that it had been determined that the bridge on we were looking to save that, or could be saved, on Plaster House Road, determined by the masons that it was never going to be able to be saved. And I just want to say that for the record, that it's too bad it could not be saved. And we're working on that bridge. Next up is the consent agenda, resignations and appointments. Can I have a motion?
I'll move to approve it. This is George Bertram.
Okay,
Emily, I'll second.
okay. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? I'll call a roll call. George Bertram,
Aye.
Emily Harrison,
Aye.
Jason Bucksbaum,
Aye.
Justin Betty,
Aye.
Mike Rosen,
Aye.
and the first selectman is affirmative also, and it passes. Minutes of May 21st, 2020 regular meeting. Can I have a motion to accept?
Mike Rosen, motion
Thank
to
you.
approve.
Thank you, Mike. Can I have a second?
Second, Jason Bucksbaum.
Thank you, Jason. Any discussion on the minutes? Hearing none. I'll call the vote. George Bertram,
Aye.
Emily Harrison,
Aye.
Jason Bucksbaum,
Aye.
Justin Betty,
Aye.
Mike Rosen,
Aye.
and the first selectman will vote in the affirmative also. There's no unfinished business. There's no new business. So we'll go on to the first selectman's report. I've got a memo here from Bob Harrison, Acting Emergency Management Director, from Wednesday, June 3rd. At this time this report was written, there have been 174 cases, 167 confirmed, 7 probable, with 35 deaths, 28 confirmed, and 7 probable, associated with the COVID-19 within the town of Southbury. The increase rate has flattened in Southbury along with its neighboring communities to a point where area hospitals are not in imminent danger or being overwhelmed with coronavirus cases. The EOC is transitioning from reactive mode to economic recovery mode. This can transition back at any given time and increasing COVID-19 cases. In addition to our EOC pillars working on their areas of operation, planning, logistics, and admin finance, the following guidelines have been created and or reviewed. There's a master reopening plan of the town of government in town hall, community services building and the library, parks and recreation summer camp plans, and park and recreation town pool plans, and the senior services reopening plans. Additionally, the EOC is continuously monitoring for severe weather conditions as our area is now within the official hurricane season. As you know, the grocery brigade is shutting down. There was only 7 orders today, and I want to publicly, on the Board of Selectmen's behalf, thank all the volunteers for their assistance with that grocery brigade. I think that was a very big help for the COVID crisis and kept a lot of our seniors very safe. Plaster House Bridge is going well. They're working on that. I remind everybody the open house tours are beginning for the Edgewood on June 12th, 13th, and 14th. Expect a special meeting to be set. Special meeting coming up probably next week to set the question and to set the referendum date sometime in the middle of July. Lynn Dwyer is working, and Cindy are working on this. Cindy, can you give an update with that side of that, please?
So Lynn and I are working very, very diligently to get this to happen, if at all possible. We think so. We're working backwards because we have to make sure that we have everything in place from the presidential primary, and that's going to impact some of July, and trying to get backwards to the date that we're going to be able to use, and also to make sure that we have enough time so that she can issue absentee ballots for this. She was on a call today regarding what's going to happen with voting for both the primary, which will impact our referendum, and she asked if we can hold off until next week, Thursday, and have a special meeting so that she'll have the latest updates. It's pretty much changing daily. So I think, Jeff, what you need to know and make sure is we can have a quorum next week, Thursday.
So next week, Thursday, if we can get a call in for quorum. If you could just let my office know, Noreen and Betsy, that you will be able to participate, I'd appreciate that. And Jason, for you, good news is your idea of getting pens. Actually, we have found out that we can use ballpoint pens. And we will either black or blue, and it will work, and we don't need to buy $8 pens. So we will be ordering some of those pens without, we don't have to make a big transfer for that.
That's
$8 pens, you got that?
that's great. I mean, just so people know, you're referring to the as I was thinking about the referendum, the one item that sort of changes hands the whole day is the pen. And if we could minimize that, we can have a safer referendum and mitigate the impact.
So we're also gonna encourage, I will put it out that we encourage people to bring their own ballpoint pen. Also, if they could help us out and bring it, and that would help. There's been big
Mike
questions.
Rosen?
Go ahead, Mike. Go ahead, Mike.
Thanks, Jeff. One, thank you for the pen idea. I think that's a great idea. And I assume, one, that there'll be some sanitation procedures that get put in place,
Yes.
and the state will help guide us on that. But do we have a plan B? If for some reason there is another surge before then, is there a plan B for absentee voting or some other mechanism to have the voices heard? Thanks.
We'll work with Lynn on that.
Yeah, Lynn that's why we'll know by Thursday exactly what we, and it looks pretty good.
The state has a lot of sanitation things that we have to follow, and to answer also to your point, Jason, I believe that the state is also sending us pens, so for the primary to make sure people can use them individually. So if they get here in time, we're good.
Great.
Thank you.
So also, there's been a lot of question about fingerprinting starting up, questions from the public, and we will be, we're about to restart the fingerprinting pretty soon. There's just need to get the procedures in place to keep our people safe and make sure the people coming in are safe, and there'll be more coming on that. Also, just a reminder that there's going to be a meeting for the Rochambeau Bridge coming up. The state is moving forward with the bridge over the lake. That's a major project that is going to start by having this meeting, and they're going to be moving ahead with that bridge repair to make it safer. Any other questions out there? Okay, we'll
Jeff?
move. Oh, who's that?
Mike Rosen.
Hi,
It's
Mike.
Mike Rosen. Sorry.
Okay.
Question. I was going to bring it up under my liaison report, but we might as well talk about it now. So I just want to, state on the record here with the public.
I
you know,
can't-
here that-
I can't hear you.
Can you hear me? Oh, hold on. Let me see. Hold on 1 second. Can you hear me better
So
now?
what do you need? What's the
Can you hear me
question?
better now, Jeff? Can you hear me better? Jeff,
What-
can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yeah, barely. What's the question, Mike?
Regarding the joint statement that was issued with Region 15 and the town of Middlebury, you and I haven't had a chance to
Do you want
discuss
to
it
add
yet.
that to the agenda?
No, I'd like to just get an update from the first Selectmen's report in terms of to get an understanding of the process that went into place,
The
you know,
statement-
as that was developed. Yeah.
Yeah, the statement is out there as a joint statement, and that's what it is. Reports from liaisons? George Bertram?
Okay, Jeff. I'll start with Edgewood. The town, I believe, has hired an appraiser. A name was put forth. And Jeff, I don't know the status on that. Did that go through?
We're waiting to hear back from them and get it going, yes.
Okay. And my understanding is the appraiser will be hired through the town attorney in order to protect confidential financial information from the current owners.
That's correct.
So I'm not going to mention the appraiser's name at this point. We're also in the process of hiring a pool inspector. In this case, it'll be a fellow by the name of Michael Fortuna. He's an architect, AIA certified, and probably the biggest pool architect in the Northeast from what we can see. I'm surprised we didn't learn about him earlier, but he has agreed to do the inspection, and it is currently set for June 10th, although the date is not locked in stone, and I don't know the time yet. Jeff did mention that we're having an open house the 12th, the 13th, and the 14th. The open house will be 9 a.m. to 7 p.m. on all those 3 days. That's a Friday, a Saturday, and a Sunday. You don't need an appointment to go. Social distancing and masks are required. And I'm told the pool is still set to open on June 20th per state guidelines. So as far as I know, that hasn't changed. We have created a draft pro forma P&L. I consider it to be finalized, although it needs a little bit of formatting change. I was hoping Dan could get that done, but that's pretty much ready to go, at least as a draft that the task force is okay with. It still needs to be reviewed by everyone else. There's also a draft which is considered to be final by the task force of a management and governance document that will be released at the same time as the pro forma P&L. A report was written related to a lot of work that Hugh Sullivan and Tom Connor did researching grants, either ADA or pool related type grants. To summarize it, they didn't find anything, but they did write a nice report, and that will be released fairly soon as well. We also have a report from Ted Wallover. I think I mentioned that at the last meeting. He's an architect who reviewed the pool cost estimates that we received from the 3 architectural firms. And he basically agreed with what they came up with. He's a pool architect from Pennsylvania. I'm still working on pool cost analyses based on the Newington and Wallingford pool costs. A quick look shows that they are in line with the estimates. We have the lease to rebuild Ballantyne Pool and Pool House, but I haven't finished that work yet. There will be one more public presentation. We haven't scheduled a date for that yet. It was originally thought we might hold it in the middle of May, but there's been so much work going on that it's been put off. But I expect we'll see that happen in the next 2 weeks or so. Jeff gave us a nice update on the referendum, and Cindy. Okay, I'll jump to another topic unless anyone has a question on Edgewood. The police, fire, and EMS radio refresh. I had a communication with Chris Grillo today, got a pretty good update. Chris Grillo and Brian Warren have met with Norcom, and that was a completion of a meeting that started a few weeks ago that got interrupted by a car crash. The good news is that the options are clear. There's 2 options that they're looking at. One is a technology based on what they have now. Let's call it VHF technology. It's an older technology, not quite as advanced as the state trunk line system. The second option is what they consider to be a hybrid. It allows a state hybrid, the state trunk line system to be used by the police, and everybody else can kind of work off the existing VHF technology. That seems to be the best approach, but Norcom is going to give us quotes on both approaches. Again, the first one will be staying with what we have now, which is VHF technology, and the second will be the hybrid, which is police using the state trunk line and everybody else using VHF. It's going to take Norcom 3 months to develop budgetary numbers for both systems. That's a lot of time, but I guess it's that complicated. What else can I say about that? Oh, Norcom has met with Bert Sipley of Southbury Ambulance and George Goodwin of Heritage Village Ambulance. And from what I hear, they have solutions that will work for both ambulance services with either option. Who pays for those upgrades? That's a question that's beyond my pay grade. The folks at Norcom are recommending that we have our tower antennas inspected. They've never been inspected. They claim that the recommended cycle is 10 years for inspection, and ours are much older than that. So there'll be an added cost for that in the estimates. Once we get these estimates together from Norcom, the plan is to set up a meeting for interested parties so you can get your questions out there. It's not easy to understand this stuff. I gotta say, it's complicated. So it'd be good to talk to the Norcom people if you're interested and you want to get your questions answered. Chris also asked that I pass along his thanks and appreciation for the understanding that this project is complicated and it will take some time to complete. So he specifically asked that I pass that message along to the board. Any questions on that? I'll move to my next topic, which is road study committee. I'll bring this up. It's not something that's super active at the moment, but the Jeremy Swamp Road extension has been a topic of concern for a number of people. I did speak with Charlie Spath. He's estimated that you could repair the culverts for $90,000, but that doesn't do anything for the rest of the road. And the rest of the road, I walked the whole length of that road. In fact, I walked the whole length of Jeremy Swamp Extension, and I also walked the whole length of Edmonds Road all the way to 188 to see what that was like. Interesting tour. I suggest if you're curious, go down there, just take that hike and see what it all looks like. So I guess the real question with that road is if it's a scenic road, do you still have to fix it? And my take on it is that you probably do. I mean, there's some pretty steep drop offs on the side of Jeremy Swamp. So the question is, can you fix it for 90,000 or do you have to spend the 750,000? I think you're probably looking at the 750,000 or something close to that. That's just my opinion, based on what I'm looking at when I walk the roads. So, I mean, it could be a linear park. I think planning is going to look at it on September 15th. That's their scheduled meeting from what I understand. And they want to have a public meeting. So it really isn't a Board of Selectmen issue right now, but it will be at some point. I will note that planning has twice recommended in recent years that the road be turned into a linear park. And personally, I'd like to see this issue resolved one way or the other, just to get it off the plate and put it behind us. All right, so if any questions on that, I'll move to another issue. Is the tax abatement task force. There's been a number of emails back and forth from the Board of Finance to some of the selectmen, including Jeff, looking for a status update. And I don't really have much to say about that. I mean, we did approve, in theory, the changes that were recommended by the task force, but we never got the ordinance approved or written even. I think Jeff's working on that. I don't have anything more to say about that. Strategic Planning Commission would like to get back to business. They would like to start presenting their task force recommendations at upcoming meetings. I think the first one would be the affordable housing plan. And they would follow that up with presentations at subsequent meetings. So they're making like an official request to get back into the agenda cycle whenever it's convenient for the town. Last but not least, the Cellular Mobile Task Force. I spoke with Joe Ruggiero. He has set up his little test fixture. He's been busy this week, so he hasn't had a chance to run it yet, but he's got 4 phones. I think he's got all phones set up with the necessary software. So he has the ability at this point to drive around town and take readings and sort of record the strength of cell signal on all 4 of the main providers as he's driving. I spoke to Kevin Russ, and Kevin's been a little bit hard to get a hold of, but he says he's been buried with trying to keep the telecom networks that he's working on up and running because usage has skyrocketed with everyone working from home. So he says he'll engage with the task force again soon, which is important because he's the guy that really has the connections with the providers. That's it for me. Thank you, Jeff.
Thank you. Selectman Betty?
No meetings this week, as you already mentioned, Jeff, on the senior service side. The grocery brigade is winding down. In part, the orders have started to come down. The amount of volunteers has dwindled, but also, and equally important, the local grocery stores are back to a 48-hour turnaround. And, at this point, it's time for, private industry to take that back. So it was a huge effort. A lot of good people were involved. And I think it was very helpful and effective for keeping some of our oldest people out of the grocery store at the wrong time. So economic development, we're all seeing the continued good flow of information out of Kevin and the EDC department. So that's great. And nothing on IPOC now. We will probably have a meeting at some point in the next month or so. Do you have any update on what we're going to do about social services?
Not yet. We're still handling it through the office. So we're going to figure that out.
Okay.
Jason?
The two historic committees, those meetings were canceled this week. On LEPC, obviously the continued response to the pandemic, the OCs having daily briefings 3 times a week. We're all getting daily updates from Bob that everyone sees. As Joseph mentioned, Kevin's been very active with his updates as well. And then beyond that, I think Jeff covered all the specifics in his report. So I have nothing else.
Thank you. Selectman Harrison?
All the library board meetings have been canceled. I'm really excited to announce the launch of their new website. If you haven't looked at it yet, go and check it out. They're also going to be, the library will be able to start doing drive-through window pickup, so to speak, checkouts. So excited that the library is getting back open again. And the EMS committee had their meeting last week. We're working through having a task force to review the EMS plan, the volunteer appreciation program, as well as a few other items that we've put in front of them. So they'll keep moving forward. I'm looking forward to hopefully getting together at the end of this month.
Hey, Emily, when is the library slated to open again? Is it June 20th or is it after that?
I don't have that in front of me, but we'll move on to Mike and circle back. I'll get it.
Yeah, I think they're doing the curbside right now and getting that up to speed, and then they'll ease
Right.
into some other broadening that out moving forward. Selectman Rosen?
Thanks, Jeff. Emily and I agree, though. The library website is wonderful. They did a really nice job on it. I'd encourage everyone to check it out. The big news out of Parks and Rec, Jeff referenced it, is the summer camp program. They have opened it. It is certainly adapted from usual summers, but and I think they're still working through it. But kudos to Michael and to Dan Liddy and the team over at Parks and Rec for getting that. I think well, there is no such thing as perfect in this current environment. It's really going to provide a resource to families and to children, and to give them a good time. So I think they've developed a good program. Planning hasn't met since we last did. Region 15, and I know it's something that is an uncomfortable conversation, but the region with town of Southbury and town of Middlebury did issue a joint statement regarding what's going on in our country. I do think we need to discuss it. This Board of Selectmen needs to lead better than we have led. I talked about a year ago our need for diversity training in the town. That statement shined a light on the need.
Do you want to add it to the agenda?
For it.
Discussion on it?
I would love to add it to the agenda. I'd like to make a motion to add a discussion regarding the joint statement to the agenda, if it pleases the rest of the board.
We have a motion.
I'll second that.
Who made the second?
Justin makes the second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call the vote. George Bertram,
No.
Emily Harrison,
No.
Jason Bucksbaum,
Say aye. We generally add things when people want to talk about something.
Justin Betty,
Aye.
Mike Rosen,
Aye.
and the first selectman votes against. It doesn't pass. Okay.
Or should I say oi, oi, oi?
I'm sorry?
Never mind.
Okay. Any other business? Hearing none, do we have a motion to adjourn?
Jeff?
Mike Rosen, motion to adjourn.
Do I have a second?
George Bertram, I'll second.
Okay.
Jeff? Sorry, I was having trouble getting unmuted. Just before we wrap up, wanted to circle back. I was not forgetting a date. Phase 3 does not have a date for the soft reopening. So right now, the library is still just looking at the window pickup service by appointment. You can check out up to 5 items. Just wanted to get that out there before we adjourn.
Okay. I'll call the vote to adjourn. All in favor? Aye.
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 Any
Aye.
opposition? Abstentions? And we're adjourned. Thank you.
for all, so. So I figured out there is a way in settings to add a co-host. So we didn't have the setting turned on in the